Okay, one more chapter this week. Chapter 3, and it's called A Too Heavy Blanket. Let's see what happens. We can fatten him up and make lamb borscht in the spring, Baba grins. No! I pull the lamb tight against my body and try to cover him with my shawl. Well, what are you going to do with him then? He'll grow into a fat, hungry sheep, and the house doesn't always settle on grassland. I won't keep him long, just until he's strong enough to be outside on his own. I glance out the window. I've decided when Benjamin picks up the lamb tomorrow, I'll just tell Baba he ran off. The floorboards roll beneath me, and I stumble forward. Baba raises her eyebrows. Where exactly did you find him? I told you already. He was near the fence, alone and abandoned. I look down at the lamb, my cheeks burning. Which side of the fence? The chimney sighs loudly. I know the house saw me stepping back over the wall, but I'm hoping it didn't see me with Benjamin. I'm really not sure. I bite my lip and look at the rafters. It was hard to tell because the fence had collapsed. I was fixing it, and I heard him bleeding. Baba shakes her head and frowns. You know you shouldn't go beyond the fence. It's not safe. I didn't go far, I interrupt. What was I supposed to do, leave him there all alone? You could have told me. I could have come with you. You were asleep and I didn't want to wake you. Honestly, he was right there on the other side of the fence. I looked straight into her eyes because that part of the story, well, it was true. Bubba's face relaxes a little. All right, just promise me. I won't do it again, I promise. I flash my most dazzling smile. So can I keep him? Baba gives a little nod and smiles back. You can use some of the bones to build him a shelter on the porch. Thank you! I run out the back door and along the wraparound porch until I come to the smooth, wide floorboards near the rain barrel. This is one of the house's deaf spots, so it won't hear me if I talk to the lamb. I tuck the lamb up in my shawl, place him in a large empty bucket, and spend the rest of the day building him the finest shelter I can. As I wire the bones into place, I examine them carefully, wondering which ones were from my parents' house. Baba said all that was left after the fire were the bones from their fence, so she brought them here, and they've become jumbled up with ours. I wish I had something else of my parents, something other than bones to remember them by. Dusk dims the sky, and Jack shouts from the top of a skull at the far end of the fence. It's time to light the candles already. I feed the lamb first and fill his shelter with old wool blankets so he's nice and warm. Then I light the candles in the skulls and open the bone gate ready for the arrival of the dead. The evening carries me along in a daze. I'm even more distracted than usual. I drop bowls, knock over chairs, and jump at every noise from outside. Bubba thinks it's because I'm worried about the lamb, which I am, but mostly, I'm thinking about the morning and Benjamin returning. Butterflies are battering my insides with excitement and panic. After I smash the second glass of the evening, Bubba suggests I get the lamb and take him to my bedroom. She drops a whiskery kiss onto my cheek and tells me to get some sleep. But I know I won't be able to. I'm far too charged up about tomorrow. I push open my bedroom door and a smile creeps across my face. The house has grown a small shelter for the lamb in the corner of my room, complete with a grassy floor and miniature fence. Right next to it is a mossy fort, like the ones it used to grow for me to play in when I was little. The trouble is, I'm not little anymore. Looking at the fort, an uncomfortable feeling settles over me, like a too heavy blanket. Playing make-believe games with the house was exciting when I was young. The house would grow me cozy dens and miniature worlds, tiny walking trees, and dancing flowers. Happiness would swell inside of me, and I'd feel like I might burst. But now that I'm older, no matter what the house grows for me, I still want to leave and explore the real world, meet the living, and have friendships that last more than one night. I try to distract myself by reading, but the characters in the story are walking by a lake. So I imagine what it would be like to go for a walk with Benjamin. I play my word game instead, using the wooden tiles to spell out words like friend and life, but There's a space on the board for another player, so I end up wondering whether Benjamin knows how to play. I give up and sit by the window, staring at the constellations of streetlights in the town far below. The sounds of the guiding swell and fade. Then I hear Bubba turning her balalika. She plays my favorite lullaby from when I was little. But tonight, just like the mossy fort, it makes me feel cramped and restless. I'm relieved when Baba shuffles off to bed and I can return to my daydreams. The first light of dawn blushes the sky pink, and slowly the house begins to relax. When I'm sure it's fast asleep, I pull my shawl tightly around my shoulders and silently slip out the door. Jack watches from a scull as I pad softly down to the fence. I put my finger to my lips and shoot him a look that I hope says, "Please don't give me away." Thankfully, it works. Although my heart is thumping so loud, I think it may wake the whole house on its own. And then I promise, and the promise I made to Bubba is ringing in my ears. A freezing mist has gathered around the bones of the fence, coating them with a thin layer of shining ice crystals. I shiver as I look around to check. I'm in one of the house's blind spots. Satisfied it can't see me, I step over the fence and settle down on the rock that Benjamin and I sat on yesterday. And I wait. Jack comes and sits next to me, every so often tucking his head under my arm to get a stroke. I feed him pieces of spiced honey bread from my apron pocket, and watch the mist slowly clear. "Caw!" Jack shouts loudly, knocking a skull off the fence as he flaps awkwardly in the air. My heart jumps into my throat, and I turn around to check he didn't wake the house. But it's still asleep, legs folded neatly underneath the porch. I slide off the rock to pick up the skull, and when I straighten it up, I see him. Benjamin. A huge smile warms my cheek, and I wave excitedly. "Hello," he smiles back. "Still playing with your bones?" I blush as I realize I have a skull in my hands. "Oh, yes, sorry, it just fell off the fence, and—" "Can I hold it?" Benjamin asks. I pass it to him, and he lifts it up to his face and stares into the empty eye sockets. It's strange, isn't it? What? You know, that this was a living person once walking around. I wonder what they were like, what kind of life they had. Well, whoever it was, they're gone now. I take the skull from him and balance it back on the fence. I spend every night listening to the dead rattle on and on about what kind of lives they had. Right now, I want to do some living of my own. "How's the lamb?" Benjamin asks. "He's fine, asleep in my room. I could get him now if you like, but I was hoping that maybe we could—" The words froze on my lips. Last night, it had seemed like such a good idea to invite Benjamin to come for a walk. But now, doubts are creeping around me. I've never been more than a few steps away from the fence. What if Baba's right? What if it's dangerous out there? "Go for a walk?" Benjamin finishes my sentence. "I was going to ask you the same thing. I've got to restock a bothy." He points along the mountain. "It's not far away. Would you like to come?" Still unable to speak or even breathe, I nod my head and clench my fingers to try to stop them from trembling. I've got no idea what a bothy is or what restocking one involves, but for the first time in my life, I'm going to walk away from the house and have an adventure of my own. Dizzy with excitement and anticipation, I take a deep breath. Imagine my mother on her stolen gondola and tell myself this is going to work out fine. Dun, dun, dun! Next chapter is chapter 4, and it's called Beyond the Fence. So I guess we'll have to see what happens beyond the fence next week.